Okay, we've probably all heard people say that modesty is a virtue, that you don't want to be arrogant. You got to show some humility. But let's leave aside the sort of ethics of it for a moment and actually discuss whether or not modesty is attractive to women. Okay, now a lot of women will say, well, of course I like a man who's modest because they're probably sick of men who are arrogant, cocky, jerk kind of men. How many men are there out there in the world who are genuinely arrogant? Actually, not that many. It's a smaller percentage than you might imagine, but you hear about women talk about arrogant men all the time because they tend to have a lot of other traits that women find attractive, and so women have a skewed perception of just how arrogant men are. And you've probably heard it say that the difference between somebody who is confident and arrogant is whether or not they can actually back up their claims. Like, you're arrogant if you talk a big game and you're never actually following through on what you're talking about. Whereas if you can actually pull it off, then you're not being arrogant. You're just being confident based on your own competence. Now, I think that there's some truth to that, but it's actually a little bit more nuanced than that, because if a person is genuinely being arrogant, it's not just that they have skills and talents, it's that they are broadcasting it like a lot. And that can be obnoxious even if somebody is genuinely competent. So if you were a world-class swimmer, you can do the 100-meter freestyle faster than anybody else can. Okay, respect, that's a genuine talent. But if you're constantly talking about it, you're bringing it up in any context, even when it's not fitting, you're like, okay, well, this guy is obnoxious, this guy is arrogant, and you would say, at least in layman's terms, that he should be a little bit more modest. Now, is that actually what he should do? We're going to go into that in a little bit more deeply. But the point that I want to start off by saying is that modesty is not inherently a virtue. What it depends on is the degree to which it is an accurate modesty. Okay, like false modesty is incredibly frustrating. Women don't like men who are falsely modest. Nobody does. You can imagine the kind of person who never takes a compliment, can never actually accept praise or refuses to actually appreciate any of their own accomplishments. Oh no, it was nothing. Oh no, it's no bother. It's no hassle. Oh, anybody could have done that. That kind of thing. Like when you actually want to express admiration to another person, but they're coming through with like an obnoxious amount of modesty, it's just frustrating. Women don't find that kind of trait attractive. They find it annoying. So what we're really talking about here is a modesty is only considered a virtue if it's actually based on reality. Okay, so there are so many things, for example, that I'm not good at. I couldn't take apart my computer and put it back together again. I have some friends that can. I couldn't do that with a car engine. I'm an absolutely awful painter and drawing. Like, you want to see me draw something, it's not going to look anything like what I'm trying to draw. Like, there's so many things that I am terrible at, and I have a realistic sense of my skill level with regards to those things. Then there are a bunch of things that I am moderately good at, okay? Like, I am moderately good at singing. Generally, I can sing in key. When I listen to professional singers, I'm like, all right, I'm nowhere near as good as them. But if you stack me against just regular sort of lay people, I'm like, right, my voice is generally more pleasant probably to listen to than the average kind of person. All right, now, is that really being modest? Is that being arrogant to acknowledge that level of skill? I mean, it depends. Of course, this is largely subjective, but I think that the point is that that paradigm doesn't really matter so long as you're taking an accurate sense of where your skill level sits, which then goes to the question, well, what about that next level up? What about for those things that you are genuinely talented at? Okay. Now, if somebody is giving you praise for something and you have like honestly worked really, really hard at it, or it's one of those few things that you just have that innate capacity for, you are innately talented at that particular task, that particular skill, I don't think that it's appropriate to talk it up like, fuck yeah, I'm good at that. Like, you want to see me do this, That's weird. I also don't think it's right to reject that compliment. Like, oh no, don't say that. Like, it's just sort of nothing. Because when people appreciate that you're capable of doing something that they're not able to do, they're not trying to necessarily scheme you or manipulate you or embarrass you by pointing it out to that. It's actually an expression, I think, of their own high self-esteem. Now, some people don't understand this, like the kind of person who gives a lot of compliments, they imagine they're like a suck-up or they're like a loser, and you you don't want to accept the compliment because you don't want them to feel bad. But while that can happen every now and then, that actually hasn't been my experience of it. Now, think of this in terms of your own life, right? Like the time that you have been the most generous in your words, the most complimentary, the most able to express your admiration for other people. Was it when you were feeling really down about yourself? When you had really low self-esteem? My guess is probably not. What tends to happen is that when you're feeling really good about yourself, you're feeling high self-esteem, you've got that confidence based on competence, you're feeling generous, it sort of overflows, and you're able to appreciate the talents that other people have that you don't necessarily have. And so one of my skills, you could say, is knowledge of dating and relationships and sort of talking about it. And I feel quite comfortable there. Now, if I see someone who's painted an incredible portrait that I'm not able to do, if I go, wow, that is amazing, you are so talented, it's not because I'm feeling bad about myself in that instance. It's like, isn't this cool? I've got like my thing that I'm able to do. You've got your thing that you're able to do. And so you see, there's no need to project a false modesty because you're not actually protecting anybody from anything. The people who are expressing admiration and can recognize your skills, your talents, they don't need protecting. They've got their own thing going on. So what's needed is a kind of casual recognition of your own skills and competencies. And it can come about in conversations with other people in a way that doesn't come across as obnoxious, but simply as look, I'm reflecting the reality. Like, I'm blessed. I was born with a gift to be able to do this skill. I'm so grateful for that because I enjoy it so much. Or maybe I wasn't born with it, but it's like, I've been working really hard for years. It's so great to see my hard work really come to fruition. I'm so proud of myself. These kind of things is absolutely fine. And women will appreciate that because you're not being arrogant and you're not even being particularly modest. Forget that paradigm. You're just talking in terms of reality. And the reason that this is important is because as a man, you can't push the responsibility of how other people are meant to understand your competency level onto them. You need to take responsibility for that because people, women in particular, are going to be looking to you for cues as to how they should interact with you, right? Like, think of it like, who is a better expert in this world on you than you are? Maybe your mom, right? Like there will be some people, your best friend, who might know you really, really well, but they're not going to know you like you know you. And this is the way that we understand, self-image when we interact with other people, is that we generally look to them for how they think about themselves, and then we adjust our interactions with them based off that data. So if you're interacting with a person who seems like really good looking, seems really kind of competent, but their whole body language, their vibe, their tone of voice just gives off that I'm a loser, no one likes me, I'm not good at anything kind of vibe, you're not going to be interacting with him the same as if he was, generally upbeat and confident and, enthusiastic kind of guy. You're going to be like, it would have seemed from first appearances as though this person was killing it in life. He has every advantage. He's doing very, very well, but he clearly doesn't seem to be that way. And so I'm going to be a lot more cautious. All right. Now, understand that's how you're interpreting it. And you're a man. When it comes to women, they're so much more comfortable being led by the opinions of other people than men are. And I know that this is like potentially going into sort of sexist kind of realms, but you tend to find this is just true, is that women have evolved a capacity for social conformity far and above what men have, because men, it's a lot more high risk, high reward. You think like only 40% of men in history have actually passed on their genes. Okay, so how am I going to be one of those successful few men that's going to be able to attract women? Okay, I need to do something big, and that's why we're jumping out of airplanes. That's why we're pushing ourselves to the extremes of science and creativity. It's like our genes push us to be able to create incredible new things and to try dangerous things in the hope that it's going to impress women. Obviously, there's more to it than just that, but you understand the general point I'm making is that men are incentivized to take these risks and to be independent in our judgment and to ignore the opinions of others if we're following one of these tasks. So women, it's not like that. They're going to have male partners. They don't need to worry about whether or not they're going to reproduce by and large. Every woman's going to find a partner if they want to. And so that high risk, I can just ignore the opinions of other people, that wasn't positively selected for in evolution for women as much as it was for men. And so it's a lot safer, to just go along with the group. It's that herd mentality, which is why you often find women will check in with other women before they express an opinion. And it's very rare to see a woman openly contradicting a man, like in a public setting. Now, you could say that there's some social reasons for that. It might be sexist and mansplaining and all that kind of stuff. And look, I'm not just dismissing all that. There's a legitimate argument to be made about the social influences and whether our culture can evolve and adapt. But my point is that at its base level, it's biological. Okay? And so when a woman comes time where she needs to determine what she thinks about you as an individual, whether or not you're attractive, she's going to be quite comfortable going along with the opinions of other people, whether or not they see value in you. And this is what's behind the whole principle of pre-selection. You know, she's attracted to men that other women find attractive because there's safety in that. They've already come up with their opinions on him. They've vetted him and decided that he was a high value guy. So there, it's fine to develop feelings towards him. But they'll also look towards the man himself. Okay, so when she's trying to judge your level of competency, do you see why putting on a false modesty is not working in your favor? Because it's confusing her. She doesn't actually know to what degree she should find you attractive because, you know, it would seem on the surface that you're competent and you're doing great things, but you don't seem to care about that. You know, it's like you're not worth anything, you know, like there's nothing really to celebrate about your level of skills. And so she's like, okay, well, I'm not going to go with you then. And so that's the danger of that false modesty. And of course, there's also a danger in being overly arrogant, because the moment that she senses that you're not in touch with reality, that you're overcompensating for something that's not actually there, then she's not going to trust you. What women trust above all is somebody who is in touch with reality, which means if you're not doing well in your life, it's not really going to be in your favor to pretend to be better than that. Okay? Like, and if you're doing really well in life, it's better to just accept that's where you're at and to be able to accept compliments and to express pride and admiration at yourself at a reasonable, rational, reality defensible level. And so would I say that modesty is a virtue? No, not particularly. I think that it's a somewhat meaningless paradigm. I think that it's fine in layman's language to say that if you're really arrogant and full of yourself, hey man, you need some modesty. You know, I don't mind using the word in that way, but for the most part, it doesn't really matter whether you're arrogant or modest or confident or humble or any of that stuff. What matters is the degree to which you are self-aware, have an accurate sense of yourself, and then are able to express that publicly to other people in a way that's not obnoxious, in a way that just shows a positive self-esteem, that you're not compensating for anything. And that's what women find attractive. That's what makes women feel safe, and they respect you and they trust you from that. Reality, 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 reality. All right, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I'll see you in the next one.